In today's video, we're not using 1, but 8 Extreme Sheen colors to find out just what type of effects these paints can create when using them all together. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to go a step further and turn this beautiful blowout into a dazzling piece of art. So stay tuned, my friends. That's coming up next. Well, hello there, my friend. Welcome back to another video. So today, as you saw in the intro, I'm not using only 1, but I'm going to be using 8 different Extreme Sheen paints by Decoart. Now, typically when we do acrylic pouring, we will use some regular colors and then add in like a gold or another metallic color. And we know by doing that we can create some beautiful lacing and cells. I've never, however, used all Extreme Sheen. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of reactions I get out of this. Right now, what I'm doing on the canvas is I'm just laying my paints out and trying to figure out what order I want to apply them to on the canvas. This is very important, especially when doing something like ring pours, flip cups, Dutch pours in this case. How you layer the paints determines on what colors you're going to see the most of. For example, with the Dutch pour, the first paint you put down on the canvas is going to be the color you see outlining your petals that you blow out. The last color you put on top of the canvas will be seen most in your Dutch pour. So certain things like that matter, plus different things like transparencies matter. If you have an opaque paint and you put that down on top of a semi-transparent paint, you're going to block out that semi-transparent color. Whereas if you put the semi-transparent on top of the opaque paint, you're going to be able to see that semi-transparent color. And then you're also going to be able to see some of that opaque color coming through. This is something that you will learn throughout your journey of acrylic pouring. And unfortunately, you learn a lot in this type of art form with trial and error. There's just something to be said about that. Failing has helped me to improve a lot over the years. So just keep that in mind. Now, my paints today are all mixed with American Floetrol and water. The measurements I used for the Decoart Extreme Sheen paints was 1 part paint, 3 parts American Floetrol, and water to thin it down to the correct consistency for blowing. If you don't know what that right consistency is, in the description of this video will be a link for you to click on to watch another video called the consistency chart video. In that video, I go over all the different consistencies for all the different acrylic pours, and there's a free downloadable printable chart that you could print out and test your paints at home with. This painting here, the colors are, we'll say, a peacock theme, and I was just loving how bold they were on that black background. But I'm going to let you watch this part of the video now, and then I'll be back in a few minutes. right, so another little tip I can give you is if you blow out your paint and you're not satisfied with how far it went, you can always add on a small puddle of paint. Take the blow dryer, blow that little puddle of paint towards the area you already blew out, and then take the air dryer, aim it towards the puddle, and blow forward, just as you see me do here. All right, so here we go. Look at this gorgeousness, huh? Wow. Look at those reactions, and those colors together are just dynamite. Now, there's a few areas I'm not happy with. First of all, this area right here, I kind of got too close with my path, so I couldn't fully blow them out. But I'm the type of person that will let this dry and then work on it after, versus trying to scrape it off and fix it and taking a chance of screwing something else up. So I leave it alone and fix it afterwards, because I'm going to do a little more to this once it's dry anyway. So, and of course I'll show you all of that when I do it. But wowee, those colors together are stunning. The other area I'm not too happy about is this here. But again, I'm going to let it dry and then just use my imagination when it's dry to alter it a bit. But yeah, very, very pretty. Very pretty. And it's just something different, you know? Just something different. But we'll see what I could turn this into when it's done. So stay tuned. Alrighty, this dried perfect. Absolute perfect. All the effects are still there, as you can see. So now I'm going to move on to the next step. And what that is going to entail is me just altering a few small areas that I was not happy with before. All I'm going to do is take some black acrylic paint, the same one that I used for the base, and with a dry brush, just maybe take away a few areas just to shape it up a bit. But anyway, let's see where we go with this one. So I'm not going to babble through this whole thing because I've done this many of times before. What I'm going to be doing is called the prismatic effect or prismatic technique, where you take some areas of your painting and you add in some texture and color. Now I'm using the black paint just to touch up some areas and to make the leaves more defined in some areas and kind of skinny it up a little bit, we'll say. I'm also using the black paint to create areas where I'm going to be putting some texture. The way I create texture is by using UV resin, a UV light, a bowl of bubbles, and some chameleon powders. These are 3 different brands. You can get them all over the place. I have a link in the description for 2 places you can get them. One on Amazon, another one through Artists Till Death. You can buy them on Etsy. They're all over the place, but they're called chameleon pigments. The larger flake-sized ones there on the right, those are chameleon flakes, and they will work the same. So you're going to see here in a minute a few supplies that you will need to do this. As I said, the UV resin you're going to need, the UV light. I have a link in the description of this video for a very affordable one on Amazon. You're going to need something like a throwaway paintbrush or a silicone spatula, whatever you're comfortable working with. I like using these dollar store brushes simply because I can get into the smaller areas easier than using a spatula or any other item. You're going to need a couple of regular spatulas to scoop the bubbles onto the canvas with, or you can use a couple of wooden sticks. And you're going to need a bowl of water with dish soap in it that you agitated to create some bubbles. So you're going to take your UV resin and apply it to the canvas wherever you want to create this type of a texture. While it's wet, you're going to take some of the foam off of the surface of the water. You don't want water, just the foam. You're going to lay it over the wet resin, and then you're going to set the UV light on top of it for 60 seconds. Now, this is YouTube, so I made sure to time-lapse this for you so you didn't have to watch all 60 seconds. But you're going to put that light over it for 60 seconds, and then you're going to remove it. Once you remove it, you're going to take your regular spatulas or sticks, scoop that foam off back into your bowl because you can reuse it, and then you're going to take a paper towel and lightly pat it dry. Once you do that, you're going to end up with a beautiful bubble / crater looking texture. People often ask me why I like to use paintbrushes to do this, and here's a perfect example. If I was using a silicone makeup brush or some kind of a silicone brush, I wouldn't be able to get into that little pointy tip of this section. So yes, I'm wasting brushes because you can't reuse them after this. However, for me, it's worth the $1.25 for 5 paintbrushes to just be able to get a nice clean cut section created. I know this does bother some people that I don't reuse the brushes after, but again, it's just my preference. You can do whatever you want. So here we go again, 60 seconds, but through the magic of YouTube, it's 7 seconds. So take off the light, clean off the area of bubbles, and then go ahead and pat it dry. And I want to point something out to you. Do you see the sides of the canvas? Now, I'm going to paint those afterwards, but if you do something like this, make sure that area you don't have paint dripping down the side so it looks nice and clean. You want to just paint it black. Anyway, here we go. Beautiful texture from that technique. I absolutely love it. So once you do that technique in all of your areas, you can see I have all of my areas marked off with a white dot. Now you're going to come in and you're going to take your chameleon pigments and you're going to color that area. You're going to put some more color back into it. This chameleon pigment was from Etsy. I bought it years ago, but it's a beautiful purple that color shifts to blue, and it's got a beautiful rainbow sparkle in it. So you just want to take a dry brush, lightly brush it over that surface, that textured surface, and it'll cling to it. You don't have to wet it or anything like that. The resin surface is tacky enough, not even tacky, it's just the texture of the resin, it clings to it. Almost like if you were to take something like this pigment and rub it on plastic, you would never get it off. That's what resin surface is also like. So now I'm coming in with a chameleon pigment from Let's Resin, which is a brand sold on Amazon, and just adding in another dimension of color, just adding in a little violet and a lighter purple. So you're going to see how beautiful this stuff is in a minute. But I'll show you a few more areas, and then we're going to move on to the final piece, the final viewing. I cannot tell you how happy this texture makes me. I just love textures, and to see it come to life once you put that pigment on it, it's just so beautiful. And in person, it looks so much better. It's so hard to show this stuff on screen, but you can see there's a ton of rainbow sparkle. Look at that. And you can't see it. You're going to have to take my word for it. When you move side to side, it goes from purple to blue, the area. So I'm just very happy with it overall. But the one biggest question I get with these paintings is, how do we finish it? Well, I like to say, I like to spray it with some matte varnish and leave it alone. However, a lot of people like to use resin because resin really brings out the color in your actual painting. So what I'm going to do is put a coat of resin on this for you, just so you can see the difference. If I used matte varnish, this is what it would look like when it was dry, just a little bit more glossy, not even. It would just basically seal it in. You can use a gloss varnish also. That would be fine. However, I like those texture areas to be the focus. So I usually don't like to put resin on, but I'm going to for you. So this is KS Resin, the only resin that I use. I have a discount code for that brand in the description of this video. It is an art resin, and I'm using about 12 ounces for this 16 by 20 canvas. So what I'm doing is I'm just drizzling it on all over the canvas, and going to coat the canvas as I usually do, just using my hands. And then we're going to torch it and let it sit for 24 hours. And then you'll be able to see the final results. But you can see in this view here just how much more the colors pop out once the resin hits it. It really is a great product to seal your paintings in with. So yeah, I just poured it on the canvas, rubbed it all around my hand. Like I said, I popped the air bubbles a couple of times, and then I put it to bed, and this is what we woke up to. Alrighty, here she is. I wanted to show you how beautiful these colors are out here in the sun. I can't even see what I'm filming because it's so bright. But as you can see, I'll have to show it to you inside. You can definitely still see the texture underneath resin, but it does take away from the effect a little bit, in my opinion. You can see it good there, but I don't know. I like it better when it's a double-edged sword, because the painting itself looks gorgeous with the resin on it, yet I like the sparkliness of the chameleon pigments on their own without the resin distracting from it, if that makes sense. But yeah, really, really, really pretty colors. Those Extreme Sheen paints are just like really gorgeous. You can see I don't know if you can see the sparkle or not. Very hard to film outside in the daylight like this. And I have a bee buzzing around my head that's about to send me into a panic attack. So let me get you back inside. All right, here we are back inside. So you can still see most of the texture. There's a few spots here because you have to remember, and I apologize for the glare, black is it's just unreal when you have to film it. Everything shows. But anyway, this is only one layer of resin, so you're still going to see like texture in the surface where it's not a smooth layer of resin over the painting. If you do not want to see any of the texture poking through, you're going to have to do another layer of resin. And that should cover up all of it. I just did the one to show you what it would look like with resin on it, because a lot of people ask me that. Also, if you want your canvases, the corners to look nice and rounded, like there's an actual piece of glass over the surface, you're going to have to do 2 layers, or else you're going to see the edge of the canvas like this poking through. So I always recommend doing 2 layers of resin whenever you use it as a sealant. Personally, I like, for this type of painting where I have this prismatic effect in areas. I like to just seal the painting with a matte varnish and let the sparkly areas be the star of the show. The resin is beautiful, especially with these Extreme Sheen paints. However, it can distract the eye from those really sparkly bits that we created. So it's all a personal preference. There's no right or wrong here. I'll put my flash on. You can see you still have the sparkle of the chameleon pigments there. And of course, the beautiful Extreme Sheen paints. So you don't necessarily have to use an expensive pigment or an expensive paint to get a beautiful painting. And then I got the nice sparkle in the black area too. You see that? Well, my friends, to sum this all up, those Extreme Sheen paints all together, all 8 of them, worked beautifully, and they created some magical reactions in the paint. So I hope that you give it a try. Don't be shy. Just go for it. And let me know if you do this. I have a Facebook group that you can leave a painting, leave a picture of your painting in that group. It's called United We Pour Fluid Art Group, and that group link is in the description below, along with all the discount codes I have to offer and links to videos and everything you need, okay? I love you all. I want to thank you so very much for joining me. And until the next time, which is next Sunday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, happy pouring.